Alright, comment video. So let's go through some bullshit first. There is the contest, which only like 7 people have entered. $3,000. Yeah, you're not going to win it tomorrow, but like almost no work to enter. And why not, right? So, channel page has the playlist there below. There's one called Contest, only has 1 video in it. Not that complicated. Then there's the fact that I would appreciate it if somebody who has some knowledge of physics, some education, and feels strongly that they're whatever, the conventional notions have something to do with reality, that space is really bent and time is bent, and quantum wave particle duality, randomness from nowhere, all that stuff. Have conversations about alternatives to that nonsense that might make a lot more sense. And if they'd like to discuss that, I'd appreciate it, the opportunity. And if so all you have to do really is have a mic that works to get into the room, but if you have a camera, that's better. And email me at the address below, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, what else? Yeah, I guess that's it for the usual crap, just the standing, yes, it's all so discouraging. I mean, you see channels that, there's a couple I found this week, that have 100,000 subscribers, and all they do is debunk flat earthers. And you're like, this is what people watch? Debunking of something that's just too incredibly silly. And this is what smart people, wow, look, we debunked something insanely stupid. And it really is insanely stupid. Like, you really have to be fucked in the head in some real significant way to believe the flat earth hypothesis. It's just so fucking stupid. I'm just so fucking stupid. But anyway, yeah, 100,000 subscribers for that. That's the physics people want to see. Yeah. Meaningless mush. So anyway, Nerd Jr., who steals other people's identity because he doesn't have one of his own. And he's besides that a junior, and he's just pointing out how I'm just a junior. I haven't grown up yet. Rude, cynical, habitually sarcastic, or pessimistic. Frankly, that wasn't really what the video was about. It was about the fact that here you have a real controversy, and a person who could actually fight for the truth turned into a silly wimp. But anyway, your life options are going to be very limited, and you're going to demonstrate that somehow, like you know what life options are, and that you have, conquered something, that you are a something of some kind besides like a cart pusher at ShopRite. Ooh, who the fuck are you, Nerd Jr.? I should go to the channel. Just, just an amazingly, these people who think they know what life is. What are you doing here? There, that's his statement to the world. What are you doing here? I'm nothing. I'm an idiot. I've called myself Nerd Jr. You do know that I have nothing valuable to say. And yet he's saying things. And 9 thumbs up for that brilliant remark. Because all these other people know how to do life right. Like there's some great way you do it, where somehow you don't get cancer and die. Somehow you evade the traps that are set, all of them, with your magical theory of don't step on any cracks. But what's your brilliant life theory? Just go along. Be a pathetic Borgite. Oh, assholes. So Edward did say something. Let's see, Edward Armstrong. Give me one good reason why anyone should be optimistic about the future. Why should anybody have ever been optimistic? Is exactly the point. Exactly. The world has always looked like shit. It will always look like shit. It's always going to have all this horror, absolute horror in it. for no good reason. I mean, there's no good reason to accept horror, but people are doing it. They're saying buy it anyway because we're stupid. The Cold War never ended. Well, I don't know about that. We've been on the brink of nuclear war since the 50s. Well, we've been on the brink of idiocracy taking over since the 50s, and that's the scary part because it's winning. So what's there to look forward to exactly? Yes, cancer and death. Urban scavenging like in the War of Mind. Well, you know, your movie, not my movie. For the lucky survivors. We should put lucky in quotes because obviously surviving is not being lucky. It's being stupid. Nothing about modern politics screams, don't worry, they'll figure it out in time to me. Well, they're not going to figure out any of the shit that really matters, and the only stuff they're trying to figure out is how to clean up the mess they've already made. So, yes, it is nothing to be too optimistic about. This is for sure. So the acorn says, the acorn. No, it's an acorn. Another not brilliant, you know. I mean, I know all this, I'll be a humble participant on the internet and not be too pretentious like Sergio over here, the next guy. But I just don't see the point in just saying I'm as dumb as an acorn. But anyway, whatever. Do as you wish. But all of this is drivel. As conversation. At this point, it just couldn't be more irrelevant. I mean, it could be, maybe, if you're just talking about how crayons taste. That might be a little bit more irrelevant, but not much more irrelevant. So I love these people. Sergio Specialiski. Yeah, so I'm sure that's your real name. Special Sergio. Oh, I mean, just so label himself. Yes, thank you. Mainstream science is the religion you mentioned, not electric universe. Well, I'm sorry, it's got every tag of religion. It's holding up paintings from caves and going, look, the cave people knew the truth. Cave people were love. See, they drew like a wildebeest with a sword in its head and shit, but that's saying love. What are you talking about, you idiot? I mean, I play the guy's video and point out the parts that are just completely irrational and have nothing to do with physics. I mean, all this social crap, like somehow if we all believe in electricity, everything will be all right. It's just such a pile of crap. Okay, you are the only ones doing real science. I'm sorry, it's not real science. You know, looking for the face of a Martian in Mars, you know, essentially what they're doing. Like, oh, let's look at meteor impacts and see if we can compare them to something electrical. Let's see if we can make everything look like it's electricity by, you know, let's break our magnifying glasses so they're distorto glasses and see if we can make up a fake reality. I mean, it's desperately religious. It's not motivated by, like, let's find the truth. It's motivated by, let's conform the truth to our mysticism. Asshole. But yeah, I mean, they just come out of the woodwork, these fanatics for their team. It's just like team crap. The Red Sox were the best team overall because, you know, the Yankees won more World Series, but the Red Sox were so much better and they had cooler uniforms. I mean, it's just such fucking shit. These people don't know nothing. They're just rooting for a team. Ugh, it's horrible. I used to do theory. Okay, we already did that one, so this is the new Bob one, I think. The implications of light bending inside the sphere of influence of a gravitational body. What are you even talking about? If there's any bending, the light bending, I've talked about surfaces. I've said the word surface 7 zillion times. Surfaces. And obviously the only bodies that allow light to travel through them are ones that are transparent. And that's a property it has. The ones that aren't transparent turns the light that they absorb into heat. So it transforms visible radiation into invisible radiation. Oh, crap. body given Lesage's interpretation of gravity are interesting. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. The implications of light bending inside the spheres of influence of a gravitational body. So I guess by sphere of influence you mean gravitational lensing, which I've already pointed out is absolute nonsense. That all you can do is scatter light if you're lucky. Given Lesage interpret gravity are interesting. I don't know how he gets the. Where did you get this impression? Let's see. Yeah, that's when the professor. It's the new Professor Lewin video. So I don't even know what you're talking about. That video doesn't have any lensing in it. If you change the foundation of the levels of the building above it, have to crumble. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm just saying there can be parts that are quite useful, and you can just take those off first and then crumble it. Yeah, it's like you can take the engine. If you got a good engine in a car, you take the engine out of your car and put it in some other car. You know, you can swap the parts. The curious thing would be the speed of light being the maximum speed. I don't know why this is at all curious. There's absolutely no evidence of anything going any faster, or communicating any faster, or happenings happening any faster. It's just not an interesting subject anymore. How would that need to be reinterpreted given that gravity moves the speed of light? So again, I don't even understand. It's like you don't even watch my videos. I mean, how many fucking times, excuse my shitting language, but how many fucking times have I said it's all one force? Photons are essentially gravity. They're just the, at a frequency. Well, first they're the negative side of magnetism at a frequency. That's all. All right? Magnetism is just the two forces segregated. I mean, I've been over this and over this. Magnetism is not making a new force. There's nothing coming out of the magnet. Magnetism means that something's been turned into a filter. I've used this word so many times. A magnet is a filter. If I put magnetism in, if I put electricity into a wire, I turn it into a filter. It's not pushing out radiation that it's making. It's filtering the radiation that hits it. Damn. Damn. Yeah, damn, that's it. I'm just trying to think of a way to make that clearer. It's like the light coming off a light bulb. Now you could think that light is the energy of the electricity. But if you think about it, the only way the light's made is by degrading the matter. So the photons aren't really coming from the energy of the electricity. The photons are coming from destroying some piece of matter somewhere. Now LEDs are interesting, right? Because that conversion doesn't seem to have the same degrading quality. But that just might be that it's more efficient at converting material elements into photons. So that's something to think about. It's a good question. When is the energy a direct conversion? That is, where do you create radiation that is purely the electricity and not some material interpretation of electricity? What happens to the matter? Because even plasmas, they're full of matter bits. You've destroyed a piece of the matter. I mean, the anode and cathode situation is just kind of the obvious one. They all emit something. Something comes off of them. Electrons, even for electron guns, it wears out the gun. The gun does wear out. I'll get to that eventually. Alright, so I don't know what your points are here at all. The curious thing would be the speed of light being the maximum speed. How would that need to be reinterpreted given that gravity moves at the speed of light? I don't know why it would have to be reinterpreted. I have no clue why. They've known for a long time that gravity moves the speed of light, that magnetism moves the speed of light, and that light moves the speed of light. So why is there an issue here? All right, same Bob guy, 1204. Well, I'm not probably going to play that. So this is a bit on energy. Okay, I think Einstein derived that number by connecting equations that were established with known relationships and using algebra to cancel the doubled quantities. It doesn't really matter. I think the point is that it was already something that seemed obvious, and Einstein made it even more glaringly obvious that as much as you think there's energy in matter, no, there's a lot of energy in a little tiny bit of matter. That the amount of trapped force inside of an atom is a preposterous amount, not a little amount. For instance, 4 divided by 4 always equals 1, and anything divided by itself except infinite or 0 always equals 1, so you can cancel them when they are both the numerator and the denominator. Yes, I think we all kind of know that. 5x over x equals 5, but you cross out the x's. Ooh, 5 equals 5, yeah. You can get rid of unnecessary variables and left with a simplified formula. I think that's how Einstein got the formula. Well, I'm just saying he obviously had to start with some formula, and to do this some established formula that established some relationship between energy and matter. But regardless, I'm just saying it was stuff that was already, the air reeked of this. This wasn't something that everybody would go, holy shit, that's a surprising. I mean, relativity, the idea that space is bent, in my opinion, is an insanely more bold and UFO-y kind of thing to say than, there's energy in matter. I mean, so I don't know what Pamela was saying here. Super incrivial. Super incrivial. She liked it. I guess I said that, and then she liked it, but I don't know. Do you think? So this is another one on the Lewin video. This is a guy I thought understood something here. He apparently just is clueless. Alec Griffin. Do you think the polarity of a single photo could affect the bar pattern with a double slit experiment when it's done with one photon at a time? I mean, how many times have I been over this subject? So yes, I'm sorry you haven't seen the videos, okay? But I've done a ton of videos in the double slit, and obviously I'm speculating that the photons are hitting electrons, as they tend to do, and that we already know that the surfaces of everything are very weird places. Weird stuff happens when stuff goes through surfaces. It's a mixed thing. Surfaces are blending into each other. Things pop off of a surface and pop back on, pop off, pop on. There's energy, heat, and it makes stuff jiggle. Lots of jiggling going on the surface. Lots of activity. Lots of, like a boiling pot. Lots of blah, 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 blah. Like the surface of the sun. Lots of stuff going on there. And everything has a surface like that, a little boiling surface. And so the photons are plowing through that boiling surface, and they're hitting electrons. And when the slits are closer together, there's electrical potential between the electrons. They're starting to affect each other, so they move into different positions. And that's why this pattern changes, is because the tension on the electrons change as you make the slit narrower. But like I said, I've gone over this so many times. The polarity of the photon as it interacts with the edge of the slit could affect the bar, what bar it lands in. Yeah, well, obviously what angle it is deflected by is the more precise way to say that, I would say. This is just an angular deflection. The pattern is consistent, same angle. You just double it, triple it, quadruple it, same angle. Which is why it looks like single photons act as waves. Well, I don't think it does look like they act as a wave, so I don't even think that you have to explain why it looks like a wave when, in my opinion, it doesn't look like a wave. But anyway, whatever. So I don't know if this is enough on the subject of that video. And again, it's a subject I've been over so many times, I don't want to leave it unanswered on the video, so I'm just going to delete it. I did answer it. QED does not, so we got another guy who posts the same little remark, and I'll make my same remark, and you know, obviously none of these people hang around to listen to the videos, so they don't know, they just say this stuff and think, I've done my job. Quantum electron, it's Latin for quod edera demonstratum, meaning what was to be demonstrated, or what was to be shown. Yeah. And again, we need to do this. We need to dig up dead languages to say something like, so deal with that. Okay. In your face, Mr. Lewin. That's what he could have said. Right? But instead he puts it in stupid code. And code where everybody watching these videos, I would assume, thinks of QED when they see it in capital letters as being quantum electrodynamics. And the reflex, brain reflex, the rational brain reflex of all these electrical engineers or all these other people interested in physics, their brain reflex isn't going to be, oh, what does that mean in Latin? That's not going to be their reflex. So it's just like, why don't we talk in code? Isn't that very special and cute? No, it's very stupid and retarded. So why didn't he have the balls just to say it? There, Professor, I've put it right on the table. What do you have to say to the facts I just threw on the table? But he was too pussy to say that, because that would be an overt challenge. And he doesn't want to overtly challenge anybody because he's a fucking pussy. He pussied out because he probably has contracts with companies and they're saying, don't stir up any trouble. We don't want Professor Lewin fans to be not buying our products. You know, just pussied out. So annoying. So Alec again, and he will disappoint again, I'm pretty sure. So I wonder if the bits of ether, I mean, I only bring up these subjects because other people bring them up. I make a clear point how the ether just can't work. It's just silly. You have to explain gravity with a push force. In my opinion, you can't get around it. This magical comes from the inside thing is retarded, in my opinion. There's no mechanism for this from the inside thing. It's a push universe, so then your ether has to be pressurized, which means the little bits of the ether have to all be moving already. How can you move your boat through a cross current? You know, the ether's moving this way, and you're going to shoot a photon this way. I mean, obviously the photon's going to end up drifting with the ether. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. It's all, I pointed out how it's completely superfluous. It's just adding a layer of complexity for nothing, because your ether, to be compressions and refractions, means the stupid ether bits have to move. Then there has to be moving rules for them. So once you have moving rules, why don't you just forget about the ether and just, okay, stuff moves. Force bits move, and they move the speed of light. Now, why don't we just reduce it, get rid of the nonsense? What do I need the ether for if I already have movement is already a function of the universe? What do I need the ether for? Oh, fuck, adhesion. There could be a tension or a flow to gravity. Again, say in a galaxy. So again, this unobserved, unever measured, there is absolutely no flows around magnets. There's no flows around any of these things. People just keep making up all this swirly crap, and now gravity is swirling. Absolutely no evidence that gravity does any swirling. No evidence of gravity. We flew to the fucking moon. We didn't detect any fucking flow in the fucking gravity. I mean, it was entirely a gravity trip, right? I mean, basically the whole trip was a gravity trip, right? The first 27,000 miles or something were a rocket trip, and the rest was a gravity trip. You know, except for one little shoot off the moon and one little shoot to get out of the moon's gravity. Everything else was a gravity trip. Yeah. So you don't need to add dark matter to the math to hold the galaxy together. So again, this notion, the whole point is you don't need dark matter if you recognize that the galaxy is expanding. If you recognize that the galaxy is actually not being held together, right? Let's add 2 plus 2, right? You have quasars, which are very far apart, very far away, which means they're in the past, way in the past. And they're very small, very tight, very condensed, very, very, very energetic galaxies. And the theory is that those things become the big galaxies eventually. Now, what happens when something goes from being very small to being really big? What happens? Oh yeah, the stuff on the outside is escaping. Yeah, so it probably is going faster than going in gravity because it's leaving. So you don't need dark matter to slow the outside of the galaxy down because it's doing exactly what it wants to do, which is, I'm getting the fuck out of here. It's leaving. Galaxies are expanding. They are not contracting. They're not sucking stuff in. They're shooting shit out. Problem solved. Damn. So you don't need dark matter math to hold the galaxy together. And again, the dark matter doesn't hold it together. All it does is account for why the outside of the galaxy is moving too fast, because they put a bunch of gravity outside the galaxy to push the stuff out, which you don't need to do if it's already going too fast. I mean, damn. If you can figure out this force. I mean, sorry, just crap. So annoying. Alright. Undernet Jack. So another guy playing the, got a cool name, Undernet. You know, it's like underwear. Underwear Jack. Yeah. Alright, sir, can you explain, sir, I love that. Can you explain how your theory relates specifically to the cosmic microwave background, which you mentioned? Yes, I mentioned it's a force coming from the entire universe from all directions, and that would be Mach gravity looks exactly like that. My interest is how the cosmic microwave background may be exploited, or condensed, or yeah, maybe we can funnel it, or concentrate it. It's a tiny amount of energy, realistically. Per square meter kind of thing. And so, but why is your interest in just trying to find something to exploit? Shouldn't your interest be what's the truth? Perhaps by applying electric-magnetic fields. They're photons, okay? Cosmic background microwaves are just photons of a different frequency. That's all it is. So what do you think you're going to do with it? You think there's more cosmic background radiation hitting the Earth than radiation from the sun? So the photons coming from the sun are not only more energetic in the sense that they're at a higher frequency, so per volume you get more of them, but the sun is damn close and producing a ton of that shit. So why don't you just figure out how to exploit that? But the problem is, even though the sun, we're so close to it and we're getting so much energy off of it, it's still only 1,000 watts per square meter, which, you know, isn't going to run your steamboats. Steamboats. It isn't going to run your industry. Alright. Funneling the energy from some central point to do work, i.e. heat, cool, irradiate, push, what have you. What have you is that it's a tiny amount of energy. And my argument is the stuff we don't see, the gravity, is the big pile of energy. And yes, we've already figured out how to exploit gravity, because we have the advantage of having this active thermal planet. It's really hot in the center and does lots of stuff, and then it has the atmosphere that's capturing the energy, and a bunch of water is put way up into the sky, and we can capture the energy of it falling into the ocean. Shit. Not to seem delusional, well, you're probably not going to be able to undo that. But a mechanism came to me in a dream. Yes, what? The big funnel. I was a person, not myself, explaining how the machine device, oh, we have more, how exciting, worked in conjunction with a huge field or collection apparatus. Yes, the giant funnel. Something you said reminded me of this dream, though I have not thought about it in a dozen years or more. That's scary, that you're old enough to know better than this comment. But anyway, it seems to me the machine could safely harness enough energy or potential to do useful work. So again, I'll just point out again, the radiation coming off the sun is already a lot more, like 100 times, like 1,000, like 15,000 times more energy than the microwave portion of the cosmic background. Now there are other portions, I'm just saying, but if you add them, all the portions that have a frequency up, it still doesn't add up to much. Now the gravitational portion is significant, as I've pointed out. I mean, it moves planets around, so obviously that's a force to exploit. But the only way you can exploit it is like you have to tie a moon to a big rope or something. You know, you have to do something preposterous. There's no simple way to capture the power of gravity, because the gravity is working on matter. So you have to use matter. You have to manipulate matter. And to manipulate matter means you have to put in as much force as you're going to get back out. So you have to find a cheat somewhere, like the hydroelectric thing. You have to find a cheat. So instead of making a big funnel to capture whatever, the gravity stuff, maybe you could think of some way to make a big nylon funnel, you know, that we could put high in the atmosphere. So then when it rained into the funnel, you could get all that extra potential, all that extra falling. You know, instead of just getting the little bit from the top of a hill to the ocean, you know, that little bit of potential, like the top of Niagara Falls to the bottom, not much, you know. But if you could go up a few hundred feet, you know, or a few thousand feet, and catch all the water up there first, yeah. But it sounds like it'd be expensive. So it's probably not worth doing. Alright, shall I delete or not delete? To delete or not delete? Yes, that's silly enough. I'll leave it up because nobody will take that too seriously and say, why didn't he respond to that comment? Yeah, obviously I didn't respond because, you know. Listen. Okay, so this is Ruben Baharaja. Oh, we know where this is going. So this is on the video for Electric Boom. So he's an Iranian guy, and this is probably another Rabin Baharaja. He's probably a fellow Iranian or something. So he's just rooting for the Iranian. Probably never even listened to the fucking video, which is going to be the irony, right? Listen, science is about arguing to get the correct point. Yes, and where was I demonstrating that I was on the side of some incorrect point? I was rooting for the debate. I said it's a valid point, right? I mean, can you have your probe wires, your ruler, can you put the ruler in the oven, the plastic ruler, and measure, okay, something without threat that your rulers are melting? Can you do that? That was sort of one of the issues of debate. Are there unflammable rulers? He has all the right to argue his view. Now, where did I say he doesn't? See, this guy didn't even listen to the video. I'm actually defending the Electric Boom guy's point, and I'm just clearly calling him a fucking pussy for not fighting for the cause hard enough. Clearly, that's the point I was making, is that he's pussying out, implying that there's no disagreement when there's a huge disagreement. You are rude. Well, it's a matter of taste, I'd say. I think there's every reason to be quite hostile to duplicity and hypocrisy and ignorance. I think they deserve some rudeness. And I, it must be a Muslim thing, think smoking pot on the other hand. You are rude, and I think smoking pot on the other hand. So, brilliant argument, right? I mean, you have all kinds of evidence for that, right? So you're for just make physics up. You don't need evidence. Who cares about evidence? We'll just make a lot of claims that don't have anything to do with evidence or facts or any of that shit. So you're demonstrating that you're a real fan of Professor Lewin types who just say shit like Rutherford's, what was the other guy's name? Not Rutherford, it was, whatever, Frankenfurter is right. And, you know, the other guy is wrong, and he's just making claims that he can't back up with evidence. You know, You like that kind of shit, right? You ignorant turd. No, we are not going to agree to because he has a PhD and teaches at MIT. So hilarious. The guy actually didn't watch the video. He, you know, he's commenting and he didn't even watch the fucking video. Oh, what an ignorant Muslim. This is not in the church or mosque that you listen to what they say. So it's just hilarious. This is science, and he has all the right to disagree. And again, I'm saying he's disagreeing like a fucking pussy. That's what I'm saying in the video. He's such a whiny little bitchy pussy. He's saying, I'm not going to argue because you are an authority, and it would make me look bad, and I'll lose my sponsors. He's a pussy. You are an idiot and a moron, and you are a despicable piece of shit. You don't even watch the fucking video and you comment, you piece of fucking scum. You're not only a duplicitous, hypocritical, you stand for nothing, you have no integrity, you don't like evidence, you like to make accusations without evidence. You're a piece of scum. Yeah. So are your, just to make it clear, I mean, since this guy's obviously being a racist, like I have to defend it, my fellow Muslims. Fuck you, you fucking Arab piece of shit. There, how's that? I mean, fuck this bullshit. I mean, he comes to the defense of this guy for no other reason than he's of my kind. Overtly obvious. He didn't even watch the fucking video. Nobody can say anything negative about one of my people. Even though he's basically on the same side and he's basically just saying he's a shitty soldier in the battle. Oh, amazing scum. Damn. Alright, Chicken Little said so. It's annoying. So the undescribed link, which is one of my pet peeves. I just absolutely hate people who can't do anything to say, oh look, here's a link to a video that da-da-da-da-da. And, you know, no, just post the fucking link to a fucking piece of shit. Not a fan of dark matter, comma, long space, space, space. Medium or particle interaction, question mark. Not a fan of dark matter, medium or particle interaction, question mark. What the fuck's... You've described everything there. Dark matter, a medium, ether, or particle interaction. No, I think I am for particle interaction. Yeah, that's the one I am a fan of. Could one consider an ether to fulfill the definition of a dark body radiator? Well, I think it'd be retarded, because then the ether is full of energy. Dark bodies absorb energy and are full of energy. And what they basically just do, which doesn't seem very extraordinary, is they take in energy in different colors and they produce it in an average color. They convert photons of one form into photons of another form, which doesn't seem extraordinary at all. Whole fucking jargon, black body radiator. They make it sound like it's doing something, like it means something. It's just the difference between substances that reflect energy and substances that absorb energy. And the absorption, again, is a tricky word because things only absorb things when they're changing their equilibrium. Okay, so if they're at equilibrium and they're staying at equilibrium, they're obviously radiators. They're not absorbers. So everything that does come in does go out because they're not gaining any energy. Jesus. Fucking idiots. Well, your opinion. Your camera is run on optics and electricity. So what does that have to do with? So this is an electric universe, retard. Your home is run on electricity. Yes, like why don't I, where did you get the implication I don't believe electricity exists? I'm saying electricity didn't put those fucking craters on the moon, shit for brain. Get a fucking grip, dumbass. No, I think you need to get one, dumbass. Watch the video of the fucking comet hitting Jupiter, dumbass, and show me the electricity that happened there. Show me that the comet was really a ball of electricity. He addresses nearly everything through electrical engineering and EM. I played the fucking video. So again, this is obviously, it didn't just address it to my satisfaction. That's why I made my commentary. And you're not undoing anything I said with this bullshit statement. He explained everything perfectly. Well, except the parts that you pointed out weren't too perfect. I can see the chip on your shoulder. Yes, I'll freely admit, when people are telling me the 3 pigs are running the universe, I'm going to have a chip on my shoulder and say, where did you get that crap from? Why are you making up stories about the universe? Why are you doing that? Why are you lying? You don't have any evidence of this crap. Why are you making this crap up? You obviously don't get most of the message. I don't get fucking cave drawing religions, you know, where they try to make things into, you know, let's revisionist history planet Earth and try to make human beings into some special organism that the aliens, you know, declared to be special. It's a bunch of, it's a fucking retarded, and it's just religion disguised as science. Fuck you. Whatever, fucktard. Yeah, whatever, fuck you. So he has to post more than one comment. The typical, I'm important, you have to listen to me. So he's put this in quotes. So I guess this is what he's saying, I'm saying about myself or something. I am a YouTube reaction videographer. Well, obviously I make reaction videos, and then I make action videos. And I'd say 90% of my videos are not reaction videos, asshole. I know nothing about the subject. Well, I'm clearly pointing out how I do know something, and I'm pointing to evidence, and I'm doing experiments on my porch, and yeah, I'm just not stupid enough to think we need to explain what made craters on the moon when it's so fucking obvious. I am critiquing. I am not listening to the message from others that I am critiquing. So again, I play their fucking video, which is much more courtesy than I ever receive. I would love for an asshole like you to actually play one of my videos and then have to sit there and counteract what I say. My exact words, what I exactly say. Not what you make up, not all this other crap, not out of context, but the actual conversation. And actually try to make some sort of statement saying how I made a horrible error. Because I didn't do that. Asshole. Okay, so then he says, you are mixing your medication again. So this is like, oh man, that is so creepily ungroovy. You know how ungroovy you're being? I mean, the internet is so old now, right? And we've seen all the medication jokes over and over again. And so any asshole who uses a medication joke, you're saying, how clueless is this guy? He's like George Burns. Like George Burns as a comedian. I mean, you're so fucking gapped. You're so, you know, distant from reality that you don't even know that you can't use the medication jokes anymore. They've just been used so many times. They're not funny, idiot. It's like going, where's the beef? You know, like put on an old lady dress and then walk around the street going, where's the beef? I dare you to do that, you know, without dying of humiliation. Such a stupid loser. I don't say that to be mean. No, you say it because you're too clueless to understand how fucking goddamn weak that is as an argument now. I mean, it was funny when people did it the first few 100 million times. But it's just useless now as a fucking insult. It's so lame. It's like saying, you're a faggot. I mean, it's useless, really. But it seems like you are really deep into the institution in the worst possible way. So another guy hasn't watched any of the videos, any of my videos. He thinks I'm an institutional physics believer, that I buy relativity, that I buy black hole bullshit, that I buy LIGO horse shit, even though I've made so many videos saying how it's all crap. So another guy hasn't watched any of the videos. He probably didn't even watch the video he's commenting on. I mean, fuck, this internet is so fucking lame that it doesn't have any mechanism to fucking electrocute these people. They should be electrocuted. The computer should have a fucking, there should be something that you get electrocuted when you're this big an imbecile. That's what the electric universe ought to invent, okay, is the learning machine. The learning machine. Yes, you go on the internet and it teaches you how not to be a fucking dumbass. God damn. Goodbye. That's what we'll say to you. And, alright, so yeah, I don't know if I talked about the dark body. Yeah, so the video was some idiotic notion that didn't even explain anything. It just made up this idea that somehow there's energy in the universe and it creates a halo of energy stuffy, you know, Hawking radiation or something. Yeah, the galaxy's spinning and it's creating halo energy. Yeah, sure. Proven by what? Nothing. Yeah. No, so now, you know, they invent this stupid idea of dark matter, then they put it in a halo around the galaxy, and now they're all looking for halos, right? So now they're going to make halos. You know, all of a sudden now they're going to try to find every image of any galactic image that has anything that looks like a little weird halo around it. There, the halo theory is correct. Even though there was absolutely no evidence for hundreds of years that we have any halos. So yes, I'll delete that. Alright. Oh, there is one more asshole comment in the spam folder. Thankfully, I didn't have to deal with it in person. So it is the whatever grown-in guy. Oh dear, look how long it is. He really does know how to type well. Please don't complain about me talking about the ether again. Why shouldn't I? Was there any indication that I brought up the subject of ether on my own? I'm responding to what other people are talking about. And so I have to respond to what their subjects are, don't I, now and then? But do I make it anywhere? Do I make it at any time? Do I make it even like there's a vague possibility that I find the subject of ether at all interesting? Is there ever a point where you get that impression? Because if you do, you've got a bad impressioner. I wouldn't have, but now you have done a video on ether, so I thought it should be relevant. Well, it wasn't on ether, it was on sound, okay, and it was on, let's see, what else is the video titled? So again, just fucking distort the reality for your own purposes. Sound, light, and it was a regarding. If light travels through an ether, it should be a little different of a medium from water. I think it'd have to be a lot different. Frequencies don't do very well in water, you know, especially high frequencies. It's very tough to create a straight beam of anything in most mediums. Well, except things like steel. So, except for things on the EM spectrum. Well, I don't know how a thing could be on the EM spectrum. So you're already in trouble with that. But I'd argue they are using the ether as their primary medium. I don't know why. I don't know even what that means. They. Who are they? Light traveling through water is really light traveling through the ether. Okay, so what do you think is in between the water molecules? Or the air molecules, for example? You think there's, if the air molecules are ether, then what's the stuff around them? Little ether? This is so hopeless. The ether, if it exists, seems to be different from other mediums. Well, in some respects, it has to be something the forces are moving through. So let's just say the forces. We know that molecules are moving to create sound. You do understand that. That's molecules moving. It seems to be less gooey and more precise in propagating the pressure. I don't know which one you think is more any of that, but obviously an ether is you know, again, the point would be is that if you say photons are just compressions in ether, you're saying the medium is a photon medium. photons vibrate through it. For water, it's clearly why it can't do this. For water, it's clear why it can't do this. I don't know. Molecules in water are arranged. Well, that's the whole point. In gases, they're not very well arranged. Oh, chaotically interlocked. Yes, that's what I said. Because they are wired dipoles. Says fucking you. With a wired spreading angle between the H atoms. Says you. By what experiment do I see any of these wires? In comparison, the luminiferous ether, whatever that even means. Why don't you just call it ether? Why do you have to Oh, the photon ether, or rather the force ether. There, okay, that might be acceptable. If it exists, or more mush, must be very orderly and evenly spaced. Well, I've already pointed out how that doesn't work either, because if you make it orderly and evenly spaced, you end up with diagonals. Diagonals long, short, long, short. Same number of ether bits. Long, short, long, short. Troublesome. What it maybe comes down to is if you excite an ether chaotically, the excitement will spread wave-ish, maybe not like real waves, like there are any real waves. You mean like real waves of soldiers? There are no real waves. There's just things that get close to each other and then get far away from each other, get close and then get far away. Whatever. But like a light bulb over short distances. Well, again, the light bulb, in my opinion, is a pathetically bad example of anything waving, because the photons are individually created in individual electrons and individual atoms. And it's really difficult to have all the photons be on and then all the ones, to get them all in phase. Really hard to do that. As a distance increases, or if you excite it at an orderly way, the excitement will propagate in straight line. Yes, and again, the problem is that an ether doesn't make straight lines, unfortunately. The grid work, you have to create some kind of new dimensionality, because the grid work just inevitably ends up with those diagonals. Let's see. Excitement will propagate in straight line. It might also be the case that all it supports its movement in straight lines. It keeps saying, so I'm just saying, draw me a picture of the matrix where you have straight lines that go in every direction to every place in the universe. You know, because you can't do that. There's no geometry that will allow you to do that. I can't get from this square to that square over there through a straight line. I'll be cutting some of the squares into little pieces. Your theory has perpendicular redirections. Yes. Not sure how that happens. Well, either am I sure how it happens beyond the fact that that's just a rule. So the little bits can't hit each other on weird angles. The rule is they either hit each other perpendicularly or they hit each other head on. So they have a shape that sort of just requires that. Other angles don't happen. Not sure how that happens. It might be a property of the force bits. Yes, exactly. Of the matter bits, or a property of the ether. Well, clearly it has to be a property of both the force bits and the matter bits, because the matter bits are what makes it actually happen. So without the matter bits, it doesn't happen. Makes more sense to me to ascribe that property to the ether. Well, it doesn't make any sense to me, because clearly the forces aren't hitting the forces. When a red force bit hits a black matter bit, it gets squashed, and that doesn't happen, into one direction. Squished, I don't know what he's saying there. And that squishing redirects the propagation. So again, I don't. Again, you want to believe in it. I've said this before. You just, you know, if this is your thing, then fine. I have no interest in the subject. I see no necessity for me to waste my time thinking of photons as whatever, Squidwards or jellyfish, you know, that have to perturbate and shit. Sort of like a stream of water hitting a dead end. Not quite like that. Yeah, I don't think so. If you could imagine a single molecule of water doing it, that might be it, roughly. I'm sorry, the basic function has to be something simple, and this is just you're making this complex infrastructure. The universe is dead, crude, stupid. So it's like making a platinum table with gold inlays, and then just putting horse shit on the table. Why are you so concerned with this fucking table? Why are you worried about tablecloths and all this other crap? It's just not part of the story. The red and black force bits hit each other. They both become squished into one direction. Well, whatever, that doesn't happen. So both propagation will be redirected perpendicularly. Makes sense to me. Well, it doesn't make any sense to me, so. Sorry. It's two things go in, two things go out. Now, if they're a different color, you can tell, okay, that it either reflected or it went through, or even that it missed, right? If going through and missing will look exactly the same, unfortunately. So going through and missing, whoops, can't tell the difference between those two things, right? You do get that part, right? And the only deal is that when they are different colors, yes, they do this instead. Not entirely remarkable. Or they do, more precisely, they do this. So the thing going, the blue thing changes its direction. The orange thing changes its direction to the blue's direction. They just exchange direction. So if they didn't have a color, right? If you didn't have color to cheat with, this collision would look like absolutely nothing happened. It would be exactly the same as if they missed each other. Exactly the same. Exactly. Whatever. So, I guess I'll just leave it in the spam folder. Yeah. Or whatever. Like I said, if you're horny for all this other bullshit, fine. I just want to argue my theory against conventional physics. I really don't want to do third-party wacky stuff. It's not my preference to waste my time debunking your ether theory. I really would like to just argue evidence and not argue, let's just make up crap about what happened 7 billion trillion years ago. So I say 7 trillion billion years ago, the universe was a little white bunny, and a big nasty wolf came along and shoved a broomstick up its little ass there. And when the bunny screamed, that was the new universe. Fuck doing that. God, I hate this planet. I just hate it. I hate this fucking planet.